Hi everybody, welcome to Chapter 5 of the Kachur text, which looks at additional issues to address. This is the last PowerPoint for this chapter, but it's probably the one that I've been speaking about this entire course and this entire process that we've actually been looking at, what teachers do, what does teacher supervision look like. All of these big ideas really have been coming up throughout this entire course. I'm hoping this is a good way to tie everything together. And you can look at this book and look at some of the research that's come from it and maybe eventually use it to your benefit. If you are considering doing a dissertation, this is a good starting point, especially if you want to do one in curriculum and instruction. Why did I like this class so much? Why did I enjoy teaching it? I liked teaching this class because it was a mix of curriculum instruction and ed admin. It was not one or the other. I loved that. And I think that's huge, and I think that really helps. It really helps the procedure out. So, once again, if you've learned one thing from the Kachur book, it's that every other page they're going to say that teachers don't want to participate in this. But let's hit it head on. Teachers are going to be resistant and reluctant. Principals have to have teachers ask questions and challenge them. They need to be able to find out what concerns they have. They need to find out what the walkthroughs are going to do to give professional growth to everybody that's involved. If a principal's confident answering that, we've alleviated 90% of the problems and the teachers are going to be happy. Walkthroughs have to be focused on student learning, not on what the teachers are doing. The second this turns into a procedure that's all about what the teacher is doing and has nothing to do with student learning, you will lose the teaching staff. You have to make sure that the teachers understand the point of it, the purpose of it, and they don't feel it's tied to evaluation, and that they can answer you basically the questions you ask related to student learning from the walkthrough procedure. If you do that, you're not going to have any problems in my eyes. That's the key here, and that's what's going to make this procedure successful. So all teachers need to be involved in the process from the beginning. Now, you've heard what I've said. I would never put the resistors as the ones that are observed first. But I'm going to put them in the process. I'm going to have them be the ones that walk into the classes of the teacher leaders or of the people that are certified as principals that are looking for administrative jobs. Get them involved, take patience, and realize that change takes time. So you have to be transparent. Transparency is key. Transparency is always key. If there's continuity and the walkthroughs aren't part of a performance evaluation, that's going to help. If there's in-staff meetings, share walkthrough experiences, and you can communicate with staff members on progress of walkthroughs and how they can really impact school improvement, what it looks like, and what it's supposed to be. Input has to come from the teachers to ensure that the walkthroughs are actually aligned with the improvement goals. If there are problems with them, the teachers aren't involved in the process, that can be an issue. Try to get all teachers involved in your development when you're looking at what the walkthroughs look like, what they're supposed to represent, and what they're supposed to be. So, I'm from Pennsylvania. You have to keep that in mind. And teacher union issues are huge. They're not as big in Oklahoma. Everything that I'm saying in this class, if I took this and I flipped it and I put it in Pennsylvania, this class wouldn't fly. This book wouldn't fly. Depending on the power of the union, you have to determine what you can get away with and what you can't, and how you can frame it in a way to improve student learning. This would work in Pennsylvania only if it was in the union contract and the principals had nothing to do with the policy. If the teachers made the policy, it led to more pay, and it was in the contract that it was going to happen, this would fly in Pennsylvania. Outside of that, this system would never work in Pennsylvania, and I promise you that from 13 years of experience in Pennsylvania. It's hard for me sometimes to sit up here and believe that it's my 16th year doing this. This is crazy. Like, I've been doing this for 16 years. I'm starting to feel old. I'm a mid-career professional now. It's weird. But looking when I started, I knew this wouldn't fly. So all of the suggestions for coordinating the walkthrough process, we've covered all of these. But I've included them all. I'm going to let you read them as I normally do. Use what you will. And I'm only going to talk about a few of these. So for the next minute, take a minute and please read these. So one that I do want to comment on that I think is kind of important is the software procedure. If you're going to use a walkthrough that actually has software, software is a big idea, and using that software is a part of how the teachers are going to be evaluated. You need to give the teachers time to actually practice using the software and give them training on it. If you don't, you're not being fair to the teachers. So, as we've already spoke about most of these, think about funding. If you believe in this process and you think it's going to work, find a way to acquire funding to actually support it. Make sure that that funding's there, make sure that it's accessible to all, and that it's provided where necessary. And if you can use it to help the teachers in your building. So once you commit to it, you have to be prepared to track who's going to be doing the observing, who's going to be observed, and if sometimes people will slip through the cracks. If you have a technology coordinator that can actually do this and use Excel, plot out who's been observed, who still needs to be observed. Don't forget about the elective teachers. I always failed on that miserably. I'd be worried about what's going on in the classrooms, and the elective teachers, I would kind of go in their classrooms and hang out, and I did that quite frequently. But I've still done walkthroughs, but make sure that there's a way to kind of track that. You have to determine whether or not you announce them or not. If you announce the walkthroughs, that's great, but what does that look like? You have to determine whether it's in the best interest to announce it or not. I think you announce it in the beginning. If you're going to do this as a 3-year model, year 1, it's all procedural, here's how we do it, no evaluations, no feedback given, let's ask for clarification. Year 2, all walkthroughs are announced. Everybody knows when they're coming, and everybody knows the expectations. Year 3, then it becomes the unannounced model. That's how I would approach it. You don't have to approach it that way. This would be the Lucibina method of building and walkthroughs. So use it to connect to other ways of school improvement. Try to find ways that it connects to professional practice, to survey data from teachers, to library usage, to student attendance, to formative and summative assessment data. Find a way to make it connect to other areas, and if you can do that, you're going to be doing something good as well. Equally important, if the state is telling you that there are initiatives you have to follow, the walkthroughs have to follow those proceedings. If they're saying you have to use an evaluation form every time you're in a class with a teacher, and that's what the state dictates, and anything I'm saying, you can just hit delete on this video. Any of these PowerPoints, just rip them up and burn them, because you got to do what the state does first. You have to follow that pattern. If the state provides funding to support walkthroughs, and they have a list of 3 models, you do one of those 3 models if you're taking the money. Don't do another model. I gave you 9 in this class. Don't have to be all 9. If the state says one of these 3, you better be picking one of these 3. So many schools have said that district and school improvement is based on walkthroughs. You have to make sure that the walkthrough follows the district plan, but the difference between this is if it's district mandated, you have a little bit of flexibility over it. When it's state mandated, the flexibility definitely is not there, guys. So you have to determine whether or not the quality is there, because the district could take away some of the autonomy, and if that's the case, you have to address it and hit that head on as well. I think it works best when it's part of professional development. I am a huge proponent of professional development, but remember, I am an org theory guy and I am a finance guy. That means I value professional development over everything else. That's what I want to see. I would rather be doing work on professional development instead of teacher evaluation, because if I do professional development correctly, I don't have to worry about teacher evaluation. So if teacher walkthroughs are part of professional development at the beginning of the school year, you got to do it every single time there's a professional development meeting, and keep it consistent. If it's not consistent, we got a problem. When you evaluate the walkthrough process, make sure that the entire process is evaluated and changes are made if things aren't working out. if teachers aren't cooperating and there appears to be some sort of a problem, it's a perfect time for the principal to interject and make changes where necessary. So that's it. I mean, that's the end of this book. This chapter gives you an idea. This book gives you an idea. If you like this is great. If you can use it, I'm glad. If there's anything else I can do to help, let me know. But like I said, I think this is fairly open-ended, and I think it's really going to be specific to your organizations. Thanks again, and I hope you got something out of this chapter.